YouTube, it's me, Jen, your pudgy picker, back again in my office, which is oh so large, to show you how I get fabric ready to sell in my booth. This includes pricing, how I attach the price tags, and also how I measure and decide how much it's going to cost. So basically, I get a lot of fabric from thrift stores, garage sales, even auctions. I've literally gotten probably 13 to 15 milk crates last year. And if you go back in my archives and go auction hauls in that playlist, you will be able to see the massive one that I still got. So I want you to see how I get this ready to display in my booth. I have a 2 by 3, so it's 6 cubbies displays, and they're back to back, and I have tons of fabric. If you want to go to some of my booth tours, you'll be able to see that because it is a permanent fixture in my booth. I sell between $50 and $75 worth of fabric every check. So that's essentially, in a month's time, between $100 and $150 is just fabric. It is definitely something I always carry. It is a staple of my booth, and I have lots of customers who keep coming back for just my fabric. In fact, when I moved malls about 3.5 years ago, I used to be at a different one, and when I set up where I'm at now, people would come in and say, "There you are, I've been looking, I've been missing buying fabric." So people, if they need something for a little project all the way up to their regular sewer person, they love this stuff. So definitely consider it. It takes up a small amount of space in my booth for as much revenue as it makes. So here is my handy dandy, I call it my, I don't know, like my toolbox for the store. And in the top, I have a little card that has my information on there. We have to use certain types of price tags, which are these. All the store buys them. We buy them from the store. They get them at cost, and we have to use these so it's uniform in the store for security reasons, etc. But using something like that on the fabric, it just probably wouldn't be, enough. So I use playing cards. I cut them up into 4 pieces per card, and then I just stick the price tag on there. And then I use these little gold safety pins. I buy them huge boxes or huge bags of them, like 500 at a time, pretty cheap on Amazon. So these I use to pin on. I also use, I have a little yarn bowl, and it has just some cotton yarn in there, and that's what I use to secure it. So I will show you how I do that. But as far as pricing is concerned, so if you want to pause and take a look at this, this is how I price my fabric. So it's essentially $3 a yard. So what I do is I measure, and then if I have any extra, so if I have 2 and 18 inches, I can look up 18 inches. That's a half a yard, so it's $1.50. So this is just something I set out when I'm getting my fabric ready. So mentally I could just glance at it and decide how much something is going to be. So keep this in mind. I find that $3 a yard is a really good price, and you can kind of base that on what you're willing to pay. So depending on where you're buying your fabric at the auction, I mean, I paid probably $5 for a milk crate full of fabric, and that adds up quick. So keep that in mind when you're reselling. $3 seems to be kind of the sweet spot. I might ask a little more if it's upholstery fabric, or if it is a big bundle of maybe 6 yards, then I go a little bit lower, so you can kind of play around with it. But this is the basic of what I use. So we're going to change camera angles and look down at the table, and I'm going to show you how I measure and get it prepped to be sold. So we're back. I have a big old stack of fabric here. So you're just going to have to stare at my lovely double chin as we show you how this is done. So, okay, the first thing I do is I have this awesome, probably the best thing I've ever bought, yardstick, and it folds. So this is very easily stored in a drawer of my desk. So all I do is open that up and lay it on the edge of my workspace. And then, let's see, we'll take this piece of fabric. So of course the first thing you're going to do is make sure you take the price tag off. You wouldn't be, or maybe you would be surprised or not surprised. Sometimes I have something out at my booth and I keep thinking, why isn't it selling? And I pick it up, turn it over, and there's a thrift store sticker on it. No matter how careful you are, sometimes stuff just gets by you. Okay, so when you are ready to sell fabric, you will notice there's a cut end. And then there's a side, usually it's folded in half like this. There's a fold. And then here's like a finished edge that usually has writing or it's plain. And this is how fabric is supposed to be folded. So what you're going to measure is you're going to start at the cut side and keep going to the other cut side. So I'm lining this up. That's 1 yard. And 2 yards. Whoops. 2 yards. And then this last little bit is 18. So that's 2.5 yards, okay? So what I do is I consider I have you have to think about where you're going to put this in your space. The cube shelf that I have, the cubes are essentially 12 inches square. So I don't want to make the roll too big or so it won't fit, you know, basically all the way in. So what I do is I kind of start folding this. And then here I fold it. And then I make sure any of these raw edges are kind of tucked down so that when I am ready to roll this up, that's how I do them, is it rolls, that when you roll it up, it's not going to have any frayed edges or any cut marks that you're going to see. So I ended up folding that a little bit short. And then I'm going to fold this, not quite in half. Oops, let's move that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start rolling this. You see that? So I just start rolling it. So see how that looks? There's no raw edges. There's no any kind of fraying or any strings. And that's what it looks like. So when it's measured, it's actually maybe 11 inches. So when it goes into the cubby, it's not going to be sticking out too far. Now what I do is I take my little yarn bowl. Isn't that adorable? I got that at the thrift store. And I have cotton yarn in here. You can use any kind of yarn. The cotton yarn doesn't stretch, so it won't get loose, you know, and start to fall apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it here, just like that. And then in the center, I'm going to wrap it around once and twice. And I don't do it super tight. What you're going to do is you're going to tie that once, tie it twice, and then you're just going to trim that off. So that's what it looks like. Let's kind of straighten it up so it looks nice. See how nice that looks? You'd be amazed the way you're going to display this. Now, if you're going to use like a drawer, like a dresser drawer or something, and these are all going to be standing up, then you definitely want them to be basically the same height. And it really, really looks nice once it's all presented. I encourage you to go back into my my different lists of videos, and if you see a booth tour, definitely go check it out, because I always show my fabric and you'll be able to see how this is displayed. But basically that's how it is. Now remember, we said this was 2.5 yards, so if each yard is $3, that's, or $3, so that's six, oh, I gotta slow down, 2.5 yards. So 2 yards would be $6, and a half a yard is $1.50. So there you have your price. So what I do, and I know your tags might be different, but I put my vendor number on. So that's $6,750. And then right on the tag, you're going to want to put how much this is, because people who sew and craft, they want to know how much is here because they know how much it takes to make whatever item they're going to make. So I'm going to put 2.5 yards fabric. You don't have to get fancy. I price so much fabric that I have to, like, you know, I have to just put fabric. If I described it, it would take me forever. So here's what my tag looks like. If it's going to focus, that would be good. Okay, so 107 is my vendor number, 750 is the price, and I have how much the fabric is, and it's ready to go. And it is on the back of a playing card. I take playing cards and cut them into 4, and it fits my price tags perfectly. Now, to attach these, and the way I have them in my booth, a lot of times they get bumped around and sometimes the tags come off. So what I do is I just put that through there, and then I'm going to slide it in like that, and then I'm going to pin it. And these pins, you can get them really cheap on Amazon or eBay, and then I just pin it right on there. So for the most part, that shouldn't go anywhere. Once in a while, I find a couple rolls that don't have a price, or the store will call and say, we got fabric, but it's no tag on it. So I just tell them, unroll it, it's $3 a yard, figure it out from there. But there's what it looks like. So let's do one more and we'll go much quicker. So there's that one. That one's ready to go. Let me see here. Okay, this one I think might have a cutout piece. Now if you have a piece of fabric and it has a piece cut out of it, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to measure. I wouldn't cut the excess off. I would just say measure up until then, right before it's cut, and then just give the people the extra. You know, give them a little bonus. Again, we have it folded in half. We have it folded in half. Here's the fold. Here's the raw edge. You can tell that this probably was washed, I'm guessing, because all this extra thread, you don't want all this getting all tangled up, and it just doesn't look good. Here's the finished edge again. So we're going to take the fold, do it sideways. Get my ruler out. And that's 1. Yeah, there's no cuts on that one, thankfully. 14. So there's 1 yard, 14 inches. So this one, instead of folding this in half, let's see, let me fold it in thirds. So I'll fold a third in and a third in. Now this is going to be a little shorter than 11 inches, but that's okay. Again, you fold it not quite in half, and then you're going to start rolling this. Make sure you tuck in any stray edges, and you just roll it and then you kind of flatten it. So here again, see how neat and nice that looks? Let's take and wrap this around once, twice. You don't have to wrap it too much. If it's not real thick or it's not coming out, you know, it's no big deal. So trim that. Now I said that was 1 yard, 14 inches. Again, let's take a look at this. Now we got to go a little low because there's 12 and there's 18. So 12 inches would be 1/3 of a yard. So that's 1 1/3 yard. So 1 1/3 yard fabric. Now again, 1 yard, $3, and 1/3 is $1. So that's $4. So when you have this little chart, I have it taped up so it doesn't get beat up. And I have this with my price tags, and when I'm ready to do fabric, I can sit here and watch YouTube and work on this. So again, that's all ready. There it is. It's all filled out. Let's go ahead and put that through the end, and then again, tuck it in and pin it. I would say don't leave it dangling and pin to the yarn. When you do it this way, it's not flopping around and it's less likely to fall off. So there is another one. So that is how I wrap and prep fabric for resale. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. You can also subscribe if you haven't already, and I appreciate you being here and sitting through this and watching. If you have any questions, make a little copy of this. So if you have any questions, leave them down below. Most fabric, especially when it's a cotton or a cotton blend, it is a certain width, so people don't need to know how wide it is. But if it's certain fabrics like upholstery, you can put the width on there as well, which people really do appreciate. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I will see you guys next time for maybe another tutorial. And until then, happy picking. Bye!